Good evening, hockey fans. You're listening to The Neutral Zone on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Tonight, playoff standings, Frozen 4, NHL prospects in said Frozen 4. We'll talk about the 2023 President's Trophy, talk about some records that are being set by the Bruins, some rookies getting some time, some debuts for the Red Wings, some pros sitting for the Maple Leafs for the first time this year, as well as the Willie Community Hero Award finalists. All that and more coming up next on The Neutral Zone. Let's go! Welcome on in, hockey fans. You've reached the Neutral Zone on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. I'm your host, Zach Poplis. Adam Karnick has the night off. But lots to get into tonight. We'll check scores around the league. We'll talk some playoff standings. We have some teams that have clinched their divisions. We'll also get into Frozen 4. That takes place this Thursday and coming Saturday. We'll talk about some of the NHL prospects in those games. We're going to talk about the President's Trophy and the Bruins and some other records they've set. And we'll talk about some players getting their first start or their first sit this year, as well as some really cool community efforts that have been recognized by the Willie Community Hero Award finalists. And we've also got some Women's Hockey Hall of Fame exhibits to talk about as well. So, like I said, lots to get into. But before we do, as always, we got some housekeeping to attend to. Okay. For the last 8, almost 9 years, eSports Radio has been bringing you amazing content, ranging from interviewing legendary athletes to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. All the while, we've continued to be by the fans, for the fans. With your help, we're ready to take the next step. When you go to our website, iesportsradio.com, you'll see our Patreon link with 5 different tiers. The first one starting at just $5 a month. This donation gets you shout-outs on all 32 of our shows. Higher tiers include IE Sports Radio merchandise, access to our podcasting university, and even a chance to be featured on a segment of our flagship show, The Defining Moment. Thank you all very much for continuing to make IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports. With that being said, we want to thank our Patreon supporters, Bay Area Raised, M. Los Great, Key to the Gate, as well as Anonymous. You can listen to this show anywhere where you get your podcasts. But if you're listening live, you can hop in on Spreaker in the chat room and you can follow along and interact with the show. or if you don't have that, you can also find us on Twitter. The show is at IESR Neutral Zone, or myself at The Pupless. So, all right, with all that being said, got that out of the way, let us begin. So, let's fly around the league tonight. Getting towards the end of the season. All right. Senators and Hurricanes. Hurricanes lead that one 2-1. They just started the third. In Panthers and Sabres. Panthers lead that 2-1. Oh my gosh, my Red Wings are beating the snot out of the Canadiens 5-0. That's in the third. Woo, I'll take it. We'll come back to that one in a sec. Devils are beating the Penguins 5-1 in the third as well. Maple Leafs are beating the Blue Jackets 3-1 in the third, about halfway through the third in that one. Preds are beating the Golden Knights 2-0 in the second. Looks like that second period just started. Blues and Flyers are facing off tonight, 2-0. Blues lead that one. That is in the second. And Blackhawks and Flames are tied 0-0. That one just started, looks like. With 3 games yet to come tonight. Kraken and Canucks at 10 o'clock. Oilers and Kings. And Avalanche and Sharks. Those last 2 are both at 10:30. So, as usual, lots of action around the league tonight. We'll keep you updated on those as we go through the show tonight. Let's do a deep dive on the Red Wings right now. Sorry, I'm a homer, I know. But hey, when you've had a rough season and your team's beating somebody 5-0, I mean, hey, you can take your wins where you can get them, right? All right, let's see. Scoring summary. All right. Red Wings have gotten goals from David Perron, Veleno, Luff, David Perron again, and Lucas Raymond. Okay, so Perron's got 2. He's got a chance for a hat trick. They still got another. Oh, well, probably not at this point. They got what? 14 seconds left? I thought they had more time. Guess not. Okay. All right, so that one's almost over then. So I don't think he's got a chance at a hat trick, but still, we'll take a win anytime you can get it. All right. Speaking of the Red Wings, they actually got a win the other day. And one of our rookies got his first start. Red Wings 2022 top pick Marco Kasper makes his NHL debut. Marco Kasper, the number 8 overall pick in the 2022 draft, made his NHL debut with the Red Wings on Saturday night in Toronto. Red Wings beat the Maple Leafs 5-2. Kasper was on the ice for 14 minutes and 59 seconds and recorded 1 shot on goal. Kasper, a native of Austria, who turns 19 this weekend. Oh, so young. Who turns 19 this weekend, joined the team on Friday following the completion of this season with Rögle BK in the Swedish Hockey League. He played 52 regular season games this season, tallying 8 goals and 23 points. He added 3 assists in 9 games in the postseason. Quote, "I'm really excited," Kasper said. "It's a dream come true. Just going to go out there and try and give it my best. It's going to be really fun." Coach Derek Lalonde said the experience at the end of this season will serve Kasper well for the future. He's a laid-back kid, very laid-back kid, Lalonde said. "I'll get to know him more. I just like the fact that he's around in the process." So there is another rookie contributing to the Red Wings rebuild. We've also got maybe not a veteran, but at least a little more seasoned than rookie player who has to sit the rest of the season. That is Robbie Fabry. There we go. Detroit Red Wings forward Robbie Fabry will require surgery and is out for the remainder of the season. Coach Derek Lalonde announced last Wednesday. Fabry is expected to require a 4 to 6 week recovery period from a lower body injury that he suffered during Detroit's 4-3 victory over the Chicago Blackhawks on March 8th. Fabry is 27, and he scored 16 points. That's 7 goals and 9 assists in 28 games this season. He was a Stanley Cup champion with St. Louis. And Fabry has 168 points. That's 80 goals, 88 assists in 330 career games with the Blues and the Red Wings. He was selected by St. Louis with the 21st overall pick in the 2014 draft. All right. So, there was another player recently that had to sit, but it's his first time sitting this whole season. That is Mitch Marner of the Toronto Maple Leafs. He's sitting out for the first time this year. Toronto Maple Leafs forward Mitch Marner Mitch missed his first game of the season on Sunday when he sat out the 5-2 loss to the Detroit Red Wings. Quote, Marner's not going to play today, Coach Sheldon Keefe said before the game. He's got some bumps and bruises he's been going through, just like anybody else who's played as much as he would. Marner, 25, entered Sunday with a team-leading total in assists, 67, points, 95, to go along with 25 goals in 75 games this season. Quote, Mitch wants to play every game, but I think Mitch sees the big picture, Keefe said. As it'll work out for him, he'll get today off and he'll get tomorrow off. He'll come back in on Tuesday. That's 2 days in a row of rest that he'll be able to get. So anything that he might be nursing in terms of bumps and bruises or wear and tear, he has a chance to push through that. And I think that'll be helpful, end quote. Leafs also sat defenseman Mark Giordano and Jake McCabe on Sunday for the rest purposes and moved defenseman Connor Timmins into the lineup. Timmins had an assist against the Red Wings. Maple Leafs also recalled forward Nick Abruzzi from the Toronto Marlies of the American Hockey League on an emergency basis. He had an assist in Sunday's loss. Okay. Speaking of Toronto, they just clinched a spot in the playoffs. We have about, with tonight's games, we got 6 games left to go in the season. But if the season ended today, here's how things would be shaping out. In the East, in the Atlantic, you got Boston, of course, then Toronto, then Tampa Bay. All 3 have clinched playoff spots. Then in the Metro, we got Carolina, New Jersey, and the New York Rangers that have clinched spots. With the wild cards at the moment, your wild cards would be New York Islanders and the Pittsburgh Penguins. In terms of points, wow, Boston leads everybody with 125. That's so crazy. Toronto's got 100. Tampa Bay has 96. Carolina has 107. New Jersey has 104. And Rangers have 101. Islanders have 87. Pittsburgh has 86. So the next closest would be Florida with 85. So things could still work out in Florida's favor, depending on, if the Islanders or the Penguins lose a couple games here and there. Looks like Boston has clinched the President's Trophy. Yep, the best regular season record. And they did it in just 75 games. Wow, they are just steamrolling people this year. Whew. They're definitely going to be the favorite to win it all come playoff time. All right, so Western Conference, you're looking at in the Central, Dallas and Minnesota have clinched spots. Dallas with 90, well, they're both with 98 points, actually. And then Colorado is close behind with 96. Colorado has not clinched yet, however. So then in the Pacific, we got Vegas with 103, LA with 100, Edmonton with 99. All three have clinched. Wow, I mean, that's so crazy that everybody's in the 90 to 100 range, and then Boston is just leaps and bounds ahead of everybody else. So crazy. All right, and if the season ended today, with wild cards, you'd be looking at Seattle and Winnipeg. Seattle with 92 points, Winnipeg with 89. Next closest beyond them are Calgary and Nashville with 87 and 84 points, respectively. Everybody else has been eliminated from playoff contention in the West. Still alive in the East, I mentioned Florida. You still got Buffalo, Ottawa, and Detroit. Oh, and the Capitals as well. Eliminated from playoff contention in the East, Philadelphia, Montreal, Columbus Blue Jackets. So, all right, there you go. That is actually a good segue into the Bruins. They are just the fourth team ever to hit 60 wins. That is incredible. Well, how'd they do it? How'd they get their 60th win? Charlie Coyle's shootout goal helps the Bruins reach their 60-win mark. Charlie Coyle scored the game-winning shootout goal as the Bruins recovered from blowing a 3-0 lead to beat the St. Louis Blues 4-3 for Boston's 60th victory of the season. Bruins became just the fourth team in NHL history to win at least 60 games in a season, joining the 2018-19 Tampa Bay Lightning with 62 wins, the 95-96 Red Wings with 62, and the 76-77 Canadiens with 60 wins. Quote, "It is special," Bruins center Brad Marchand said, while licking someone. No, just kidding. Said about reaching the milestone. At the end of the day, I think that we've done a really good job at kind of staying in the moment. But when the year's over, and I guess the careers are all over, and we kind of look back, it's pretty special to be part of a group like this and to break records. So it is something that we try not to get caught up in. Linus Ullmark made 35 saves and stopped all three St. Louis shootout attempts to lead Boston to its third straight triumph. Boston coach Jim Montgomery said, "We wind up on top because of our great goaltender. He was fantastic tonight. And as soon as we scored, Charlie scored, I'm like, you know what? He's not letting one in. You could just see through this cage." Bruins now have 125 points this season and are on pace for 133 points, which would break the NHL single-season record of 132 set by the 76-77 Canadiens. Boston has 5 games remaining in the regular season. Jake DeBrusk, Tyler Bertuzzi, and Oscar Steen all scored in regulation for Boston. Jordan Kyrou scored a pair of goals, and Torrey Krug also scored for St. Louis. Torrey Krug, a former Bruin, former Spartan as well. Quote, "It was an exciting game, back-and-forth game," Kyrou said. "Felt like a playoff game, so it's all good." We talked about the Bruins goalie, Linus Ullmark. Well, the Blues goalie, Jordan Binnington, made 28 saves for St. Louis, which lost its second game in a row and was officially eliminated from the postseason for the first time since 2018. Wah, wah. Very disappointing, Blues coach Craig Berube said. "This organization and what's expected of everybody, we're not very happy, that's for sure." Boston's Dmitry Orlov appeared to have scored the game winner 2 minutes and 24 seconds into overtime, but after a quick review, the goal was overturned as David Pastrnak was offside entering the St. Louis zone. Kyrou then scored his second goal of the game and the team leading 36th of the season with 25 seconds remaining. in regulation after Bennington was pulled for an extra attacker to tie the game 3-3. Again, Boston coach Jim Montgomery. We made some mistakes that we can't make, so it's good learning. You're still going to get mentally fatigued in the playoffs, and we can't make the mistakes we made and give them the odd man rushes or really good looks and ended up in the back of our net. Krug buried a rebound from Brandon Saad past Allmark for his 7th goal of the season, 9:47 into the third period, to cut the Boston lead 3-2. Kyrou scored his first goal of the game with 9 seconds remaining in the second period. Bertuzzi scored his 7th goal of the season on a power play, 7 minutes and 18 seconds in the second period, and Steen added his first goal since January 22nd, 2002. No way. I think they mean January 22nd to 2022, not 02. Just 44 seconds later to expand Boston's lead to 3-0. Lastly, DeBrusk scored his 25th goal of the season when he tapped in his own rebound past Bennington, 5:51 into the first, to give Boston an early 1-0 lead. So, 60 wins, 125 points. Already won the President's Trophy in just, what do we say, 72 games? 75 games. My goodness. They are just setting records left and right. Whew. Woof. All right, what next here? So we got lots of Frozen 4 to talk about, but I'll save that for later. This one just popped up on ESPN earlier today. The Hockey Hall of Fame is going to have a new exhibit showcasing women's history. We just finished Women's History Month for March, so this is fitting piece. Women's hockey world gathered Tuesday for the unveiling of a new exhibit at the Hockey Hall of Fame, celebrating the sport's history. Hockey Hall of Famers Angela James and Jana Hefford put the finishing touches on the exhibit, placing trophies named after them into a display case at the Shrine to Hockey in downtown Toronto. James and Heffield hoped the Hall of Fame's new exhibit would inspire young girls to start playing hockey. We have so much history in our game that people don't know about, and we're still making history, Hefford said. As people learn more about the sport and get excited about the history of the sport, that's how you bring more people in and get more people engaged and who want to be a part of it. James agreed. The Hockey Hall of Fame is so inclusive, and to be able to capture every league, every association, all of women's hockey from the 1930s right up to the current times, and celebrate that is pretty phenomenal, James said. We're all enrolling in women's hockey to elevate our game, and this is pretty special, I think. James, one of the first 2 women inducted into the Hockey Hall of Fame in 2010, is now the general manager of the Premier Hockey Federation Toronto 6. Hefford is an operations consultant with the Professional Women's Hockey League Players Association and was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2018. The exhibit includes nearly 100 artifacts from over 130 years of women's hockey history. Some highlights include the Clarkston Cup, Abby Hoffman Trophy, Jana Hefford's CWHL MVP Trophy Award, and the Angela James Bowl for the CWHL top scorer. Spokesman for the Hockey Hall of Fame said that it had planned to add the exhibit in early 2020, but these plans were derailed by COVID. Once public health restrictions were eased, the exhibit's debut was timed to coincide with this week's Women's World Hockey Championship in nearby Brampton, Ontario. Players representing Canada, Germany, Sweden, and Czechia were all in attendance as the tournament begins Wednesday. Quote, I came to Hockey Hall of Fame with my all-boys team when I was 10, and it was always about the NHL players and the Stanley Cup, said Sarah Fillier, a forward with Canada's women's team who grew up in Georgetown, Ontario. So I can't imagine being a young girl now playing hockey, coming here and seeing the history of the women's game and being really inspired. So, a nice tribute. probably well overdue. Okay, so we are going to catch a break. You're listening to The Neutral Zone on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. We'll be right back.
Hey sports fans, do you like wine? Well, we've got the show for you. This is Let's Wine About Sports, a show where we talk about wine and sports simultaneously. From the classic Cabernet Sauvignon all the way down to the grapes that you've never even heard of before. Oh yeah, we cover it all. And we'll talk about a little bit of sports as well. Football, hockey, collegiate, women's sports, it doesn't matter. We're going to talk about it all, and we're going to whine about it all. So join me Monday at 8 p.m. on IU Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Sports fans, do you like teams that are tough, cities that are tougher, and fan bases that are passionate about their teams? How about teams that are historic and stadiums that are iconic? Then you belong in Chicago, and you need to check out Chi-Town Weekly. Join me, Adam Kernan, every week as we keep up with all things Chicago sports. Bears, Bulls, Blackhawks, Cubs, White Sox. We'll cover them all, plus more. The Windy City is always buzzing, and we'll keep you up on all the big games and major stories. So tune in to Chi-Town Weekly every week right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Shores of the Puget Sound to the rushing waters of the Columbia River, stretching across the Great Cascades, and on IE Sports Radio lives the Northwest Territory Sports Show, hosted by me, Brad Buckingham. On this show, I cover all the great collegiate and professional sport teams that we have here in the Pacific Northwest. Of course, I'm talking about the Seattle Seahawks, Seattle Mariners, Sounders, and even the Seattle Kraken. But I can't forget all of that is good in Oregon either. I got the Trailblazers, the Oregon Ducks, the Beavers, even the Timbers, and much, much more. You can listen to the show every Sunday from 3 to 4 p.m. Eastern, noon to 1 p.m. Pacific on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
IE Sports Radio. It is your direct feed for all that is sports. It is Philly Sports Talk with Cash and Chris every Tuesday night right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Philly Sports Talk with Cash and Chris is the most comprehensive view on Philadelphia sports exclusively right here on IE Sports Radio. You know what it is, your direct feed for all that is sports. Tuesday night, IE Sports Radio, Philly Sports Talk with Cash and Chris.
What is going on, everybody? My name is Harrison Glazer, and we're coming at you from the Show That Never Sleeps podcast. I cover the Jets, the Islanders, the Nets, and the Yankees.
This is Pierre Moss, and I cover the Mets, Knicks, Rangers, and the Giants.
Our show is live every Wednesday through Spreaker and a bunch of other ways to get our content. Again, we're the Show That Never Sleeps podcast. We talk about all those New York sports. It's a lot of fun. We get into all of it. Please tune in. Again, that's Wednesdays at 6 p.m.
And we look forward to having you guys right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
And we're back on the Neutral Zone on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Once again, I'm your host, Zach Poplis. All right, so for our second segment, let's take another look at the scores here. All right, these games are all in the third so far. Oh, actually, first off, we got some games that have gone final. My Red Wings have beaten the Canadiens 5-0. Not a huge feat, but a win's a win. I'll take it. Devils have beaten the Penguins 5-1. Devils have already clinched a playoff spot. Penguins are fighting for a wild card, so that's not going to help their standings. And lastly, the Maple Leafs have beaten the Blue Jackets 4-2. Maple Leafs have already clinched the spot. Blue Jackets have already been eliminated. Okay, so that leaves us with the, 5 games still going on. Senators and Hurricanes tied 2-2 with 1 minute left in the third. Looks like that could be going to overtime. Panthers are up 2-1 over the Sabres with 2 minutes left in the third. Just got to hold on to that one. Panthers are still trying to get that last wild card. One of the last wild cards in the West, or the East anyways. Let's see here. Golden Knights and Predators tied 2-2 in the second. Blues are up on the Flyers 3-0. Everybody's been eliminated from playoff contention in that one, so they're just playing for pride. End of the second period in that. I say 2-0. It's now 3-0. Looks like he might have just scored. All right, and Blackhawks and Flames are tied 1-1 in the first with 3 minutes, 56 seconds left to go. Still to come tonight, Kraken and Canucks at 10, Oilers and Kings at 10:30, and Avalanche and Sharks at 10:30. So, as always, busy night of hockey on Tuesday night. Instead of Sunday, it's Tuesday. All right, so along with being good at hockey, everybody who plays the game is expected to be a good corporate citizen, good public servant, etc. So in that vein, we shine light on 6 Willie O'Ree Community Hero Award finalists. The award is named after the first black player in the NHL. Adam and I did a little segment on him last year. All right, so NHL on Monday revealed its finalists for the 2023 Willie O'Ree Community Hero Award, an annual distinction for individuals who have positively impacted their community, culture, or society through the sport of hockey. There are 6 candidates this season. They include 3 from the U.S. and 3 from Canada. First, from the U.S., we've got Jason McCrimmon from Detroit. Let's go Red Wings. Karen Oda O'Brien from Coconut Creek, Florida. And Marty Richardson from Littleton, Colorado. They all represent the U.S. finalists. And for Canada, we've got Derek Klein of Shellbrook, Saskatchewan, Dean Smith from Halifax, Nova Scotia, and Soroya Tinker in Toronto were chosen from Canada. There's going to be one winner from each country, and it'll be determined with weighted votes from Willie O'Ree, the NHL, and on the Canadian side, representatives from Hyundai Canada. That's the sponsor on the Canadian side. A public fan vote also began yesterday. That runs through April 16th at 1 p.m. Eastern. Each winner will receive $25,000, and every finalist gets $5,000 to put toward a charity of their respective choice. All right, so here is the breakdown. McCrimmon is the president and founder of Detroit Ice Dreams Youth Hockey Association. It's a nonprofit youth hockey organization aiming to break down barriers, preventing underrepresented communities from participating in hockey. McCrimmon supports that initiative through on-ice programming, community giveaways, and filling backpacks for children in need of proper supplies. He is also the associate head coach, general manager, and owner of the USPHL's Motor City Gamblers Jr., a team that boasts several players who have moved on to a collegiate level where they continue pursuing a life and career in sport. Ota O'Brien is founder of several hockey projects, including the South Florida Women's Hockey Program and the Lucky Pucks Hockey Club. She's also co-founder and president of the Florida Women's Hockey League, made up of women's hockey organizations from across the state. Karen Oda O'Brien has spent almost 3 decades advocating for the women's game to be more inclusive and welcoming, with new and increasingly creative endeavors, such as the Girls' Night Out League, where women of all ages and skill levels can participate. Let's see. Marty Richardson, he founded the Dog Nation Hockey Foundation as a nonprofit that gives back to North American families affected by hardships. Through hockey tournaments, including the annual Dog Bowl, golf games, and a crowdsourcing organized by Dog Nation, Richardson has provided funding to help cancer patients, amputees, burn victims, and other community members in need. In 2002, the program donated $900,000 to hockey families going through difficult times. And since 2011, it has allocated more than $4 million in aid. How cool is that? All right, so that's all the U.S. finalists. This now goes to Canada. Derek Klein is the CEO of Big River First Nation. For more than 25 years, Klein has worked to promote and grow the game of hockey through the Cree Nation Reservation by increasing funding and support for all Big River youth. Klein played a key role in the creation of the Jim Nielsen Sports Complex, a $42 million project featuring an ice arena and outdoor practice fields, among other outlets, to serve Big River First Nation and other surrounding First Nation communities. Because of Klein, more than 800 youths have allies and access to the sport. Dean Smith is a lawyer determined to create safe and welcoming spaces in hockey. He has taken on a role as a chair of the Hockey Nova Scotia's Diversity and Inclusion Task Force and is on the board of directors as their chair of Diversity and Inclusion. Smith also serves as a secretary to the Black Ice Hockey and Sports Hall of Fame Society, a nonprofit that celebrates Black achievement in sport. Smith is a driving force behind increasing diversity and opportunity for Black Nova Scotians to be involved with hockey, and has seen graduates from his youth programs go on to play at elite levels in the province. All right, lastly, Saroya Tinker is the executive director of Black Girl Hockey Club Canada and a defenseman for the 2023 Isobel Cup winning Toronto Six of the Premier Hockey League. Oh, they just mentioned that in the article we just read. Through her initiatives, including the Soroya Strong Mentorship Program, Tinker mentors and advocates for Black women in hockey to make the game more inclusive for their friends, family, and allies. Oh, that's too funny. In the last article we read for the women's history in the Hockey Hall of Fame, Angela James, she is now the general manager of that same league, that same team, the Premier Hockey League, Premier Hockey Federation's. Oh well, this is league. Toronto Six, but it's got to be the same team if they got the same name. Go figure. Too funny. All right, so go on the website and on NHL.com. The vote runs through April 16th at 1 p.m. and you can vote for whichever one's your favorite. And the winner is determined again with weighted votes from Willie O'Ree himself, the NHL, and on the Canadian side, representatives from Hyundai Canada. The public fan vote as well. So, cool. That's super exciting. And good for all of them to give back to their community. Okay, so it talked about how, all these people, all these finalists for the Willie O'Ree Community Hero Award, they all provided, they helped out and provided ways for more kids to get more opportunities to play hockey, as a child, as a teen, etc. And they talked about some of them being able to get opportunities at the collegiate level even. So that brings us to our last topic of the night, is the Frozen Four. All right, so that is coming up this weekend, tomorrow actually. We got the two semifinals. They're both going to be on ESPN2. This is the Frozen Four from Amalie Arena, Tampa, Florida, where the Lightning play. First game's at 5 p.m., Boston University versus Minnesota. Second game is Quinnipiac versus Michigan, 8:30 p.m. The winners face off on Saturday at 8 p.m. That is also on ESPN2. All right. Men's Frozen Four is all set, and boy, is it lined up to be a beauty. 3 of the top 4 seeds, Minnesota, Michigan, and Quinnipiac, along with the number 2 seed, Boston University, the Hockey East champion, earn their trips to Tampa, Florida in hopes of claiming a national title. Michigan is making its 27th, his NCAA record, 27th Frozen Four appearance. Other programs headed to Tampa are no strangers to the big stage either, with Minnesota and Boston University both making the Frozen Four for the 23rd time. Quinnipiac, which has the best record in the country at 32-4-3, will be making its 3rd appearance. Alrighty, so all right, Frozen Four teams at a glance. Minnesota is 28-9-1. Gophers got to the Frozen Four by beating, where are we at here? They beat Canisius 9-2. And in the other regional, St. Cloud State beat Minnesota State 4-0. Minnesota advanced to face St. Cloud State and won 4-1 to win the Fargo regional. History lesson, the Gophers are in the Frozen Four for the 5th time since their last national title in 2003. They played Boston University in 1995 in the Frozen Four. Semis at Providence, a 7-3 win for the Terriers. Some takeaways. Number 1 overall seed seemed to look the part. Minnesota outscored its opponents 13-3 over 2 games in Fargo and never really seemed to be threatened. If not for the brilliance of St. Cloud State goaltender Jackson Castor in the first period of Saturday's regional final, the Gophers would have run away with it. Oh yeah, it was almost a shutout. It was 4-1. They are favorites for a reason. They have a dynamic forward group led by Bryce Brozinski, and an extremely deep back anchored by Jackson Lacombe and Brock Faber, and the big save goaltending of Justin Close, 45 saves. Well, how can Minnesota win it all? With their depth and talent, Minnesota is the team to beat. But at the Frozen Four, the Gophers will need to be more disciplined with the puck in their own zone and do a better job staying out of the box. 8 minor penalties over 2 games in Fargo. All right, Boston University. They're 29-10-0, and no ties. They won the Manchester Regional. They beat Western Michigan 5-1, and then Cornell beat Denver 2-0. So then Boston beat Cornell 2-1. The win puts Jay Pandolfo in the Frozen Four in his first year as head coach of his alma mater. Pandolfo helped lead Boston University past Minnesota en route to the national championship in 1995. History lesson. Manchester has been a kind regional for the Terriers. Their past 3 Frozen Four appearances have come out of the New Jersey site this year, 2015 and 2009, when they won it all. This is Boston University's 23rd Frozen Four appearance, but only its 3rd since 1998. All right, some takeaways. Boston University is deep up front offensively. They have dynamic offensive weapons from the blue line, but their depth at forward really showed this weekend. How can BU win it all? The Terriers are battle-tested, and Pandolfo has pushed the right buttons for the most part all season long. They've had a rock as their goalie, and Lane Hudson might be the most dynamic player in the country as a true freshman. Boston University rolls 4 lines and can get scoring from any one of them at any time. That can be key when you're playing the best of the best. All right, Michigan, 26-11-3. Well, how did they get to Tampa? They were in the Allentown, Pennsylvania Regional. They played Colgate, and they won 11-1. And then the opposite bracket, Penn State beat Michigan Tech 8-0. So then in the regional final, Michigan beat Penn State 2-1 in overtime. High-powered Wolverines blitzed Colgate 11-1 in the regional semis, scoring the most goals in an NCAA tournament game since 1961. Whew! Wow. History lesson. It's Michigan's 8th Final Four since its most recent national championship in 98. Wolverines are 1-6 in their past 7 national semifinals. Overall, Michigan is making its 27th Frozen Four appearance, the most ever, and has won 9 national titles, tied with Denver for the most ever. Takeaways. Michigan-Penn State was a serious slugfight. Penn State played their heart out in a tough overtime loss to the Wolverines. Michigan star offensive players showed up when needed, as nation's leading scorer Adam Fantilli and sophomore Maki Samoskevich delivered. Both goaltenders, Michigan's Eric Portillo and Penn State's Liam Solier, were sharp and consistently made important saves. How can Michigan win it all? The Wolverines are elite offensively, but at times have struggled with turnovers and clearing out pucks in front of the net, which can be dangerous in one-and-done hockey. They did a better job against Penn State. At 6'6", their goalie Portillo made some timely saves and looked as sharp as he has been all year. Fantilli's confidence and ability continue to grow as he was a dominant force in both games. But Michigan also has a deep bench. If the Wolverines can eliminate turnovers and get the goaltending they saw in Allentown, they have a great chance to win their first national title since '98. All right, lastly, we got Quinnipiac, 32-4-3. Let's see, how did they get to Tampa? They were in the Bridgeport, Connecticut regional. They played Merrimack and won 5-0. Opposite bracket was Ohio State, and they beat Harvard 8-1. So Quinnipiac then beat Ohio State 4-1. History lesson. This is the third Frozen Four for Quinnipiac. The Bobcats were national runners-up in 2013. They beat St. Cloud State but lost to Yale. And 2016, they beat Boston College but lost to North Dakota. Takeaways. Quinnipiac's net neutral and defensive zone play is top-notch. Their Sam Lipkin is a star. Lipkin's size and strength are notable for a true freshman, and the touch he has on the puck created some goals for the Bobcats. Lipkin also possesses the confidence to call his own number and shoot the puck, which isn't always easy when you're surrounded by fourth and fifth year players. His play creates a ton of space for lineman Colin Graff, who's one of the nation's top scorers. So how can Quinnipiac win it all? No Division I team has won more games in the last decade than the Bobcats, and over the last 2 seasons they have a .795 winning percentage. Next step for this program is to hang a national championship banner. They'll face Goliath in Michigan. But Quinnipiac cannot be discounted because of their ability to dominate in the neutral zone. Bobcats are comfortable in low-scoring games, and when playing in their own end, which they'll need to be in order to beat Michigan, and then either Boston U or Minnesota. It comes down to goaltending and frustrating their opponents with their stingy trap. All right, lastly, we're going to rattle off a couple NHL prospects for each of these teams. Minnesota, Logan Cooley, freshman center, 18 years old. He is a 2023 Hobey Baker Top 3 finalist. Jeremy Snugerud, freshman, 18 years old. He had 50 points this year in 38 games. And Matthew Neese, sophomore left wing, 20 years old. He was also a Hobey Baker Top 3 finalist. Okay. Goodness. Luke Middlestat was 20 years old. He's eligible for the 2023 draft. And this year he had 18 points in 36 games. All right, for Michigan, we got Luke Hughes. He is 19 years old, drafted in 2021, fourth overall by New Jersey. He had 47 points this year. He is a Hobey Baker Top 10 finalist. All right, so then we got Adam Fantilli, freshman center. He's a 2023 Hobey Baker Top 3 finalist. Drafted last year, second round by New Jersey. All right. Who else here? All right, for Boston, we've got Lane Hudson, 19 years old, drafted in 2022 by Montreal, 48 points this year in 48 games. He was a Hobey Baker Top 10 finalist this year. All right, and then at Quinnipiac, we have Skylar Brindamore, possibly related to Rod Brindamore, maybe? 23 years old, drafted in 2017, 6th round overall by Edmonton. 32 points in 39 games this year. Samuel Lipkin, like they mentioned earlier, 20 years old, drafted in 2021 by Arizona, 39 points in 37 games this year. Colin Graff, 20 years old, undrafted, 78 points in 76 games this year. He was also a Hobey Baker Top 10 finalist. Okay, cool. So that's going to do it tonight. Thank you again for listening to the Neutral Zone on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Oh, hey, I think that was the horn. I think it means it's time to go. Alrighty, everybody. You have a good week. Adam's back next week, and I'll be back in 2 weeks. Remember, you can reach us on Twitter at The Puplists or at IESR Neutral Zone. I'm going to thank Larry and Taryn and everybody at the channel. And make sure to stay out of the penalty box. Don't get checked into the boards, and protect your 5-hole. One more thanks again to Bay Area Raised, M. Los Great, Key to the Gate, and Anonymous. All right, everybody. Have a great week.